Okay, so before we get started, I would like to point out I'm using Unity 2018.4, and I will also be using Microsoft Visual Studio Code. It is very similar to Visual Studio, but has a couple different features that I prefer and I use all the time. So that's the only reason why it'll look different, but the code should all work the same. If you would like a link to that, I will put it in the description below. Otherwise, it's code.visualstudio.com for the free download. All right, so let's make our new project. Template is going to be 3D. Put the location wherever you'd like. And I'm going to name it 3D Animation Series. And create project. Okay, now that we are in our project, we have our main scene. First thing we're going to do is go to the asset store to download the standard asset pack. Search for standard asset. Go. Mine is already downloaded, but it is a free pack and it has a ton of scripts and assets and textures, and it gets you up and running very quickly. So we're going to import that. And you can pause this video while it's importing, and I will skip to the next part. Now that that is finished, we will go back to our scene, right click on the hierarchy, create a 3D object and terrain. It's going to start out way too big for us, so I'm going to make sure we're clicked on the terrain and it'll pop up in the inspector on the right. If you notice I have my animator down here already, that's just my default. Sometimes it's your guys might be up here at the top, but if you want to bring it down so it matches, that's how I'm going to have it most of the time. Okay, so over on the right hand side, we're going to terrain settings and scroll down to mesh resolution. We're going to adjust the terrain width to 100 and the length to 100 as well to give us a little bit smaller of a space. And then we're going to center it. So the X center will be at -50 and the Z center will be at -50 since it's 100 by 100. And that'll place it right in the center of our world. Now that that's done, the next thing to do is I hate personally working with this white. It's very bright and hard to see anything. So to add a texture, we're going to go to the paintbrush, click on this drop down tab, go to paint texture, and then edit terrain layers. I'm going to click on that, click on create layer, and this will bring up all the textures that we got in that asset pack we downloaded. We're going to scroll down till we find like a good ground texture. I guess we could do grassy rock. Let's do grassy hill. I'm going to do grassy hill. It's a nice green. Now that we have that, one thing I like to do real quick is position myself above the terrain and pivot 180 degrees so that my Z axis is pointing away from me. The reason I like to do that is because if you bring in a camera or a character or any prefab or model, it's going to be facing that direction. So instead of building a terrain and having it all set up and then realize your stuff's plotted in the wrong direction and have to reset everything, it's kind of annoying. So get that centered and facing the right direction. Then we're going to do a little bit of quick and dirty terrain building. So I did that pretty quick. Let me go back. Under paint texture, the paintbrush, we're going to switch it to raise and lower terrain. That's going to give us our terrain brush. I'm going to increase this brush size by using that slider. That's way too big. It's going to give us giant mountains. So if you left click, you can drag and make mountains appear. The opacity is how quickly these mountains are going to shoot up. Way too quick. So to lower them, you can hold down shift and click, and that erases back down to the origin level. So back down to the 0 on the y-axis. Kind of a messy way to do it. And you see a little lag happening. It's because I haven't done a setting yet. What I like to do is if you go to Window, Rendering, Lighting Settings, and click off Auto Generate. What that's going to do is that's going to make it so it doesn't try to recalculate the lighting every single time, which definitely bogs down the system. If you ever do want to recalculate the lighting, you just click Generate Lighting, and that'll do it on its own. And they'll be back to normal. So shift click to erase all these. It's a little too big. We're going to drop it. I want to use maybe like a 20. And then opacity, I like to go really low, like a 3 maybe. So just gonna make a quick border. This does not have to be perfect, just to get the world started. And so your player can't run off the edge. Okay, so that looks fine. We're gonna make it maybe, I don't know, something down the middle, like a fork in the road. And then give him like a starting zone to work with here. Big mountains on the side. And sure, that's fine for now. Let's carve him. It's a little big maybe, but Control Z. Let's bring this brush size down a little bit, and we can carve him out a little path there. And right there. Okay. So that's probably fine to start. Let's go ahead and I can close that. Let's go ahead and get a character into the game. We're going to go down to our standard assets and to characters and expand that. Get to the third person character and the prefabs. The standard pack comes with the AI third person and the third person player. So we're going to take the third person controller prefab and drag him into our scene. Now you can see the actual scale of something. That should be fine. So we got that. And just a quick test, they have it set up. So we'll hit play just to show how quickly you can get started. Actually, we can't see anything because the main camera is somewhere in the middle. So let's center that. Anytime you want to center something into the world, you can click this cog up in the top right of transform and hit reset. That will center it. We're going to hit W to bring up the position translation. I'm going to slide that back right behind our character, and then press E to pivot, and that's fine. Try that again. Hit play, and you can use WASD or the arrow keys to move around, and we already have a character. You can jump, you can crouch, and you can see if the animator's open that it's doing these things, and I will explain that later, how that works. So you can see there's a problem that our camera doesn't follow our player, and he can just run off in the distance, and we have no idea what he's doing over there. So we are going to take another standard asset that they've given us in cameras. Going to do prefabs and drag in a free look camera. Reset the position. Press W to get to translate. Bring it back. About the same spot. And we're going to delete this main camera. Click on our free look camera rig. Make sure it is tagged as the new main camera. Okay. And then the free look camera script asks for a target that it's going to be fixed to. So we are going to drag our third person controller as our target and give that a shot. With this third person camera, you can move the mouse to free look. It does have a minimum it can go down and a max it can go up. And it will follow your character around as he runs. You notice it's a little slow. We can kind of outrun the camera, so it's kind of a problem. We can fix that by increasing the movement speed of the camera. I like to do like 3 or 4. And the turn speed as well. I like to pump up a little bit. And Control S to save and try that out. All right, and as you can see, it is following us pretty well now. Keeping up with our character, and that's exactly what we want. So in the next video, we are going to be covering how to import other models to replace this one and keep all the same functionality that this guy has. Customize it a little bit to make it our own, but not having to reinvent the wheel every time we want to bring in a new character. So I hope you found this video helpful and look forward to seeing you in the next one.